Guess who's back again? Y'all, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. As always, I am so honored that you are here listening to what the Lord has given me. So if you have not liked and subscribed, please make sure you do that below and place a comment. Let me know you're here. Otherwise, I won't know that you're here. So thank you for being here. On today, we are going to be dealing with how to deal with difficult people. And I know I'm not the only person, as a believer, as a Christian, that has had to navigate how to deal with difficult people. And I think many times when we, as believers, Christians, deal with difficult people, sometimes I felt like, oh, don't worry about it, just pray about it and move on. But let me tell you, prayer works, but we have to deal with these difficult people, okay? We have to deal with them in order to protect our peace, in order to make sure that we stay sane and not in our head about different things, and to also establish that we have some type of authority. So I have always like to start off with a little story of at least one instance of me dealing with some of this stuff. So in Germany, I want to tell y'all this. In Germany, I worked at a school for some time as a office manager and data manager. The school or district did not have enough funds with the amount of children that we had in the school to hire someone else. So I was basically doing like 3 jobs, but getting paid for one. The Lord graced me for that particular season. But I was the office manager for the school. I was the data person for the school. Side note, when I left Germany, all of a sudden they got the funds to hire another person. But that's another story for another day. I always have another story for another day. But anywho, I was the office manager for the school and the data manager for the school. So I handle a lot of the student files and a lot of the employee teacher specific files. However, there was an individual there that thought I was supposed to be their secretary. I just paused, had a moment of thinking about it. So during my time there, they would always invade my space, leaving their trash, their coffee cups used, their bowls from their breakfast, leaving it on the desk, I guess, for me to put away or to clean up. They was always asking me to make copies for them and or take messages, particularly for them, rather than staying to meet a particular parent. They would want me to do basically the work that they did not want to do. And every time I turned around, that person was always in my face about something. So put my notes here because I always want to make sure I say what I wanted to say. Now, she was of a different persuasion, and I don't know if there was something in her mind or in her heart towards African Americans where she felt like we needed to serve or provide for her. But many times I felt very disrespected, overlooked, and realized that the same thing was happening for other people. And so, like any person, who is working in a setting or in a particular area, even if it's church, you want to have the support of your supervisor or mentor. And so this particular person, she was just very, very, very controlling, very pushy. And I had an amazing supervisor at one point and mentor who supported placing things in place so that one, I felt safe, protected, and um, but the supervisors managers changed, and the next incoming person was not as forward in support in helping. So I told this individual, this lady, that she had to stop. Okay. In order for me to maintain my joy, in order for me to maintain my peace, I had to speak up. And if you've ever worked in a school setting or any high service giving area, even in ministry, sometimes disrespect happens. Sometimes you're overlooked. Sometimes you feel like someone is kind of controlling you or disrespecting your space, especially if you try to keep it clean and organized and they still come in and do what they want to do. You have to speak up. And I'm not talking about speaking up where you have to lose your character or get out of character or display behaviors or things that are not Christ-like, but you have to speak up so they know that you are serious and that your space is important to you. Establishing those boundaries, even if you don't have the support of your manager, if you don't have the support of your pastor, establishing those boundaries. And so one of the things that I did was I made sure that I verbally expressed to her, I'm not your secretary. I was hired by the school. When she asked if I could do the copies, yeah, I could have, but then that would have put me behind on the work I was doing. So I was like, I'm unable to do that at this time. Is that something that you can work in your schedule? And just leaving it just like that. Every single day, it was something different. Oh, have you ever been there that every time you turn around, it's something different, something else that the person may be trying? And I'm just convinced sometimes that the enemy does use certain situations or people to kind of buffet you to see, are you going to respond and the way that you're supposed to, or are you gonna like just wild out? So I want us all to be easy, be easy. And the E is establish those boundaries. And so I was very intentional with establishing the boundaries around my desk. I didn't have an office, so my office was the whole entire um, main office, and then I had a desk in the back. So I was very intentional with establishing the space. I kept it clean. I put up flowers. I put up pictures. Like, this is the space that I used to work. So if you're coming into the space, please make sure you leave it the same way you came. I put up small gold picture frames with the cute words saying, today is a great day. If you use the space, please leave it the same way. It was before you got here, or some other cutesy way to say it, but I literally put up picture frames to establish the boundaries. When asked to do things that was out of the scope of my particular work or what I could handle for the day, then I would simply say, no, I can't do that right now. Is that something you can work in your schedule? Is that something that you can do tomorrow? Because this was during like COVID time and after COVID. And so a lot of times people were not allowed to come to the school. So not only was I doing my work, I was going to the door to answer the door, answering all the phones. And so really didn't have a lot of time to do anybody else's work. The A is accept that they are who they are. Accept that they are who they are, because 9 times out of 10, they may not change while you're there. Sometimes it takes you to plant seeds, to pray, and then the change happens after you leave. So accept, that's the way they are. That's how they behave. That is their behavior. And it not only is it so deep, they've been doing it for so long, and people have not probably held them accountable for their behaviors. So accepting who they are relieves the pressure of expectation that they may change while you're there. That's just who they are. I'm going to pray for them, but I'm going to establish my boundaries so I can protect my peace. S, it's stay secure in who you are. Don't get out of character. This particular person had a master's. I had a master's too. I just happened to be working as the office manager. Stay secure in who you are. You know who you are. Just because you may be getting paid at a grade lower than them does not mean that you're less than. You still bring all of you to that position. You still bring all of you to that particular task. And several times being in that position, because I was the office manager or secretary, I felt like many times I was belittled. I just want you to come here and listen. And I had to tell one other person, I said, anytime you invite me to a meeting and you expect me to leave a part of me out of the room, just don't invite me, because when I show up in who I am. And if you want me to be there as an advocate for a student and don't expect me to say anything, like you just want me to sit there silently, be on your side, I'm not the right person, because I'm going to advocate for what's right. I'm just saying. So let me get back into this. The why in easy is yield to God's way, yield to God's peace. I cannot tell you how many times in that situation where I wanted to say something else, but I stopped and yielded to God's way and yielded to his peace. And so that allowed me to really, really, really get through that season and that particular difficult person, because I'm going to tell you, dealing with difficult people, a lot of times, like I said, you're not going to be able to change them. They are the way that they are, and they don't plan on changing. They don't want to change, and they don't want to hear what you have to say. So do what you can do, what's been placed in your hands, how you can make sure that you show up, be the best that you can be without the frustration and the anger. Because let me tell you, every single day, I had a story about this lady. Like, at one time I was like, is she serious? Did she really just ask me that? And again, being easy, literally establishing the boundaries, accepting that, oh, okay, this is just who you are, making sure that, excuse me, that I stayed secure in who I was, and yielding to God peace, that strengthened me and gave me everything that I needed to get through that particular season. So don't get out of character, just remain direct and be open to compromise. So I'm not saying during that whole time I did not help her, but I was at least willing to compromise. Like, there was one situation where she wanted me to go into a system and figure out people particular things for their classes or grades. And I was like, that's not my area. If you would like to go in the system and make sure that's pulled correctly, I don't mind putting it on the appropriate paper. That was a compromise, because I still didn't have to do that, but I still compromised. So I'm honestly very, very glad I'm not there anymore. But that season helped me understand how to deal with difficult people when they're unwilling to change, when they're unwilling to compromise. And I want you to know that joy can be found in dealing with difficult people. Don't avoid it. Don't act like it's not happening, because then you get all clouded in your brain and frustrated and annoyed, and you start to assume and think the worst of the person or the worst of the situation. So rather than allowing all those things to fester and avoiding them, be easy. Be easy. Deal with it. Establish your boundaries. Accept that that's who they are. Stay secure in who you are, and yield to what God is trying to say to you concerning the situation. And if you were to be honest, whoever that difficult person is, you're probably spending more time thinking about it, being frustrated about it, and talking about it more than what they're thinking about of you. So I'm just saying, let it go. Let it go. If you are still here, I want you to know that in the community this particular week, I'm going to share three other stories in where I had to deal with difficult people. One in particular is going to be with a pastor. The other is going to be with a particular evangelist missionary in the church. And the other person is going to be very, very personal relationship that I was in and had to navigate through that. I also, as always, in the community will provide some templates and text, things that I particularly use to navigate those relationships, and I hope it'll be a blessing to you. So if you're interested in being a part of the Forever Worship mentorship community, Setlist Seller, make sure that you look at the comments below and sign up. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you put a comment or a question below. Have you ever dealt with someone difficult? Are you dealing with someone difficult now? Let me know that you're here. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm praying for you, and I can't wait to see you again.